We're here on Daf Kuf Amid Beis, and yesterday we completed the Mishnah, and we're up to the Gemara today. So it's about 15 lines down from the top of Kuf Amid Beis. And once again, we're talking about a case of a suffix. Why? Because a woman, after her divorce from her first husband, or after he passed on, she got married at a very close proximity to his death or to his get. And therefore, when she gives birth to a child, we're not sure if this child is a ben Teisha l'Rishon or a ben Shiva l'Achron. We don't know who the father of the child is. Now, if one of the two potential fathers is a Kohen, then he's a Suffolk Kohen, Suffolk Yisrael. If both of these two fathers, both of the husbands of this wife happen to be Kohen, then he's definitely a Kohen. But nevertheless, we don't know if he belongs as a son to this father or to that. And there are going to be many different questions that the Mishnah addresses. Like, for example, if one of them dies, is he an Onen? And he's Chayv ben Avelus al Suffolk, because maybe that was his father. And then if he himself dies, which of the two fathers becomes an Onen? Do they both become Onenim? Can they partner together to collect, to serve in that mishmeres of kahuna, and so forth? Then we had issues about Makkah and Klola. Because Makkah Aviv or Makala Aviv is Chayv Misa, but we don't know which of these two is his father. Now, amongst the different issues, there's a whole myriad of issues here that are addressed by the Mishnah. One of them is the issue of Chalitza, of Yibum. Let's take a look at the beginning of the Mishnah on Daf Kufam and Aleph, so we'll have a safe landing here. Mishalo Shasa Achar Baila. She didn't wait the 3-month period. Shloshim Hadashim. The Nises Violda. Then you do in Bentisha LeRichon, in Bentisha LeAchron. Ben Shiva LeAchron is Hayula Banim. If she has other sons from her husband, or Rishon, from the first husband, Ubanim Hasheni, and she has additional sons from the second husband, is Cholzin Velo Miyab. So the case that we mentioned is that Rachel was married to both Avram and Yitzchak in succession. Avram died, Rachel marries Yitzchak within a very short period of time. And there were two definite sons, meaning from her relationship with Avram, she had a son named Reuven. That's unquestionable. From her relationship with Yitzchak, she had a son, Levi. Then she has a son, which we don't know if his father is Avram or Yitzchak. That's the unknown. And this son, we call him the Safek, he had a wife named Sarah. If he dies, then on the one hand, if he is the son of Avram, then Reuven is the Yavam of Sarah. If on the other hand, he's the son of Yitzchak, then Levi is the Yavam of Sarah. But the problem here is that Reuven and Levi are brothers. Even though Reuven is the son of Avram and Levi is the son of Yitzchak, but nevertheless they both are sons of Rachel, which means they are Achim Mitzad Ha'em. They are maternal brothers. And that's why Yibum is not going to be a possibility over here, because although Sarah, the wife of the Suffolk, if she wants to get married to someone else, she needs chalitza from both Reuven and Levi, because she doesn't know And we don't know whether Ruvain is the Yavam or Levi is the Yavam, but neither Ruvain nor Levi can marry Sarah because Sarah is, if there's no mitzvah yibum, let's say, for example, we'll just work it out in names. If Klapei Shmaya Gali up in heaven, they know that this suffix is the son of Reuven, then as far as Levi is concerned, the wife of this suffix is Eshes Achiv Me'imo. And Eshes Achiv Me'imo, there's no mitzvah yibum. The mitzvah yibum in this case would fall on Reuven and not on Levi, because on that side that Reuven is the son of Avram. Reuven is the son of Avram, but I mean to say on the side that the suffix is the son of Avram, then Reuven is the Yavam. It's Eshes Achim. So on that side, Reuven has no problem in marrying Sarah because he's Mekayim Mitzvah Yibum. On the other hand, it's quite possible that he is not the paternal brother of the suffix, rather Levi is the paternal brother of the suffix, which would mean that Sarah's status is that of Eshes Achim Shalom B'Makom Yibum. So the Gemara says, Dafka Michlitz V'Hadar Yibume. One second. We're not ready for this yet. Let's go on to the next case in the Mishnah. So this is now on the top of Kufa Mid Beis. It's all part of one Mishnah. Lo achim min arishon, the achim min hasheni shalome osa ha'en. So there are other brothers, which we'll call, let's say, Reuven and Levi, but they don't share the same mother in this case. So let's say Rachel was married to Avram, and Avram had a son, Reuven, from a previous marriage through Leah. Rachel, right, the almana of Avram, marries Yitzchak, but Yitzchak had a son named Levi from a previous marriage to Chana. So what that means is that Reuven and Levi are not related to each other at all. You follow? Because Reuven's mother is Leah, the first marriage of Avram. Levi's mother is Chana, the first marriage of Yitzchak. And now we have the suffix. So the suffix is only a suffix Achiv me aviv, but not a suffix of aviv me imo. Achiv me imo, excuse me. Therefore, the Mishnah says, Hu choletz, hu miyamin. Okay, now what happens now? Reuven has a wife named Sarah, and Reuven dies. Levi has a wife named Rivka, and Levi dies. So now we have two ladies that fall for Yibum to the suffix. In other words, in each case, whether it's Sarah Eshes Reuven or Rivka Eshes Levi, the nefila for Yibum to the suffix is always a suffix. That's why he's called a suffix. However, either he's marrying a B'toras Yibum because he, in fact, is, let's say in the case of Sarah, he is the brother of Reuven. Which would mean that the suffix and Reuven have the same father, Avram, or in the worst case scenario, Sarah is not related to him at all. He can marry Sarah b'Torah's marriage. So therefore, choletz u'miyabin. So with regard to these two ladies, Sarah and Rivka, the status of the suffix is that he will give chalitza to one of them, and he could be miyabi the other one. I mean, I asked you a question. Why can't he marry both of them? What was the answer to that, Steve? He could marry both. And so why does the Mishnah say choletz u'miyabin? Just 1 second. Not sure. There's probably an answer to that question. Maybe it's going to come up in the Gemara. I don't know. Why the Mishnah was avoiding the possibility of saying that he could be miyabim both of them. One is yibum and the other is just marrying a nachris. Now the Mishnah says, "V'hem."
Is this the case where? So this is not the case.
Now we're getting to that case. V'hem. That starts with the word v'hem, which is the last word on the second line. Yeah. V'hem echad choletz v'echad miyabin. So now the suffix dies. So let's say the suffix was married to a girl named Sarah. And Reuven and Levi are both candidates, the suffix, for being a paternal brother of the suffix, and therefore included in the mitzvah of Yibum to Sarah. So now the Mishnah says, Echad choletz v'echad miyabin. Right, so let's say Reuven will give chalitza to Sarah Eishes HaSafek, and then Levi will marry Sarah, the wife of the Safek. So that sounds pretty logical, correct? I'll just read to you the translation. He writes, Ima Safek meis below banim, are echad min ha'achim, O ben Arishon or ben Achron, which means either the son of Reuven or the son of Yitzchak, choletz li'eshes hasafek, that's Sarah who's married to the Safek, v'chavero, so again, keep in mind, Reuven is the son of Avram, Levi is the son of Yitzchak. So Chavero ben ha'av ha'acher miyabim osam imanash. Imu achiv min ha'av harei hi yavimta. V'im eno achiv harei nachris l'gabav uteres l'shot. So now, if I'm not mistaken, the Gemara is going to be medayik in the language of the Mishnah. The Mishnah says echad choletz v'echad miyabim. In that sequence. Is dafka michlitz v'hadar yibume. The sequence requires that one should be choletz, and then, but only afterwards, can the other one be miyabim. Yibume b'reishal lo. The kapaga be a vamal. Let me just think for a second. Vamal, meaning that what? That if Sarah is not the Yevama, let's say for Reuven, then she is a Yevama Lashuk because she falls to Levi. Now, as Mimanav Shach, she falls to one of the two brothers. We don't know which of the two. You follow me? In other words, either Reuven is the Yavam or Levi is the Yavam, but she definitely fell for Yibum with the death of the son. So on the right, so then to remove that status of Yavam Lashuk, meaning the Zika, we'll need a chalitza. Once we have a chalitza from one of these two brothers, then it's clear sailing for the other brother because she's not Yevamot Lashuk. She might be his Yevamah, and he's being Mekayim the mitzvah of Yibum. And even in an event that he is not being Mekayim the mitzvah of Yibum because he is not a paternal brother to the Safek, nevertheless, there is no other relationship to Sarah. Okay, so far that's good. Omar Shmuel, Asara Kohanim Omdiv, Upiresh Echemem Ubal, Havlad Shtuki. I'm not sure what he means by Kohanim, but I'm just going to take a stab at this. The word Kohanim here doesn't mean literally Kohanim. It means Ksherim. It's not like there's a guy here or someone else who would passel her. Zavlad Shtuki. Shtuki means a suffix. So the Gemara asks, "My Shtuki." Where does this halacha of suffix cut ice? Where is it nafkamina? Ilema shevashaskin also minach say aviv shita miadina navu amanu. There are 10 possible fathers here. Ella, but rather shtuki shevashaskin also midin kahuna. And why is that so? If they were all Kohanim, I guess we're taking Kohanim literally now. Then for sure he's a Kohen. Why is he possible from Avod? My timer. So the Gemara answers, Omar Kra, with regard to Kahuna, it says, V'haisa lo ulazaro achara brisku nasalonus pinchas. And it says, Lizaro Achra, Ve'inon Zaro Miyuchas Achra, Veleka. So the Torah requires that a Kohen, in order to be kosher as a Kohen to do the Avodah, he has to be Miyuchas Li'aviv. Ve'inon Zaro Miyuchas Li'aviv. That we don't have in this case of Suffolk. We don't know which of these 10 potential Baalim is his real father. He's possibly Avod. The only question I have here is, I don't think it's a question, but why does Shmuel have to give you a case about Sarah Cohen? Why is he, dramatized? Why didn't he just say 2 Cohen? Maybe it's not a good. Maskif Lorav Pop. Ela Me'ata. If you're building your case on Lizaro Acharov, and we need Zaro Miyuchas Acharov, it's Gabi Avram, Tichsiv Lios L'chol Elokim. Ulizaracha Acharecha, the same phrase. This pasuk explains that HaKadosh Baruch Hu commanded Avram Avinu on the bris milah, and he blessed him that he should multiply, and that kings will be born to him. So this bris, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is being mekayim this bris lo lizaro achra. Pasamai kamazir le rachmana. Now, in the case of Avram, we're not dealing with Cohen, correct? So, what's Lazaro Achra? Lazaro Achrecha. Meaning, if you're committed to Darshan Lazaro Achrecha, Bishlema in the parsha of Pinchas of Kohanim, I could justify Zaro Achrecha, meaning that you have to have a Kohen who's miyuchas to one specific Kohen, one to we know his father. But if you take the same phrase Lazaro Achrav in Avram Avinu, what does it mean? We're not dealing with Kohen. This is what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was telling Avram Avinu. Lo sinsav ovedes kochav v'shivcha de lo lezil zara basra. Again, even though Hashem is addressing Avram Avinu, but he's really addressing, the entire history of Klal Yisrael. Quotes here in the footnote of Gemara Kiddushin Samaches, B'nei HaShivcha Harem Kamoha. B'dichsiv Yishav Yeladeh Tiel Adonai. So I think what's going on here is that Yuchsin, to determine whether a child is Jewish or not, depends upon the mother. And lo tinsav alvedes kolcham v'shivcha, because if you do so, then the zera is not going to be zarach achrecha. It's not miyuchas to you, but it's rather miyuchas to her, to your wife. I'm trying to figure out, is there any similarity? I'm sure there is, but I want to understand the similarity, the parallel here between Kohanim in order to get a yichus after the father. Here also, we're not dealing with the yichus of Kohanim, but we want to know about general yuchsin, about whether you're Jewish or not Jewish. And once again, the pasuk of Zarach Achrecha is teaching us that it's only considered Zarach Acharecha if you're married to a Jewish woman. Although the Gemara in Kiddushin derives this from a different pasuk. Also, I'm thinking out loud, can we derive halachas of Yuchsin from Avram Avinu? That's before Matan Torah. Where does this pasuk by Avram Avinu indicate that he's got to marry a Jewish girl? Insav Oberes Kolcham B'Shiv. I'm not even sure exactly what it means to marry a Jewish girl if you talk to Avram. I mean, he was married to Sarah, he was married to Hagar. You have anything there in the footnotes? What is this Gemara over here, by the way?
This one?
Yeah.
This is the first one.
Oh, first one. And David, you have the volume. Does he have anything in the footnotes here about the fact that Avram was married to Hagar? I mean, that's a shivcha.
It says, one might ask, in light of the way the Gemara interprets the verse, how was Abraham permitted to marry his wife's maidservant Hagar? The answer that Hagar was automatically emancipated when Abraham married her.
Oh, I see. So okay, so they are aware of this problem.
Others answered that Abraham married Hagar when he was 86 years old, but he did not receive this commandment until he was 99, which time he had to live with them.
Okay.
He was.
You have a number of.
So he had the mitzvah. He received the mitzvah to not live with a
shivcha. But just that at the time that he married Hagar, he hadn't received that mitzvah yet, or alternatively that he had been mishacher her, and therefore she gets the status of a Jewish woman. It's very odd that all this happens before my Torah. This halacha that a non-Jewish woman after shivcha.
But we say that they kept on mitzvahs.
Right.
So
but I don't know. I would say that that's mishpachas, but not kedushas Yisrael. And for kedushas Yisrael, you need the Kabbalah's mitzvahs with a chiyuv, not just an optional mitzvah.
With Tomer, with Yibum. It's also it's not in Torah.
You don't know exactly how those laws work. Like, for example, the famous Kacha, the Ramban, that Yehudi says Tisore. In L'chora, her status was what we call Yevamot Ashuk. And Yevamot Ashuk is only an Isa La. Why did he say Tisore? A lot of complicated issues there.
Maybe they had not a law, but all the time was that a type of Yibum Torah.
When you say the law of the time, you mean the halacha of the time, the Jewish law.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe then Zika was considered like an HC. Meisveh. So now the Gemara is asking a kasha Shmuel from a Bryce. Shmuel said that you need miyuchas achrov, and otherwise he's a shtuki, and he is disqualified as a kohen because we cannot identify with certainty his father. Roy Leos Kohen Gadol. So what is the word Rishon? We have a case of a woman who was married to two different husbands, and the second marriage took place in very close proximity to the divorce of the first husband or the death of the first husband. So therefore, we're not sure the status of this man, who exactly is his father, the first husband or the second. is Rishon,
That's the child that's born between the 7 months and the 9 months.
because I tell you what confuses me is he says here in the Masifta, he writes Rishon sheyolda me'ayavam.
Yeah, he's the young one. But we don't know whether it's his or the other one. Well, she married him because he did people before the 7th month. Well, in 3 months.
Give me a second to digest this. Rishon sheyolda me'ayavam. We don't know who his father is. And now, oh, wait a second. So let's say that one of the two. So let's say Reuven and Levi die, and the suffix, because his language here is Rishon Sheyolda Mehayavam. We're talking about the Yavam. I'm assuming we're talking about the suffix.
He did Yibum before the 3 months, within 3 months.
Well, again, what happens is he was born right in a suffix situation for 3 months,
yeah.
And now Reuven and Levi, each one who's married, die. And we're not sure if the suffix is a paternal brother of Reuven or a paternal brother of Levi. And now he, 1 second. And now he's miyabim one of them. It's not the case that we're dealing with.
No, it's like we're saying here that Yavam married the Yavama within 3 months.
I don't understand. If we're talking about a suffix, so what do you mean by a yavam? Yavam would have to mean that his brother died and left him what? So
died.
are we talking about the brother of a suffix?
No, the brother died.
It says Harishon Sheyolda Mehayavam Shu Omed B'Suffix Zeh. You want to read your translation, because I'm not having much success here with my translation.
So the basis states that if a Yavam married his Yavama would outweigh the 3 months.
A Yavam married his Yavama.
Yeah,
One second. A Yavam marries his Yavama
within 3 months.
Oh, in other words, I get it. So they're two brothers, Reuven and Shimon. Reuven dies.
Mm-hmm.
And he leaves his wife for Yibum. And now Shimon, immediately after the death of Reuven, was miyabim.
Right.
Okay.
Then she's pregnant.
Okay, so let's see. I don't know how to fit that here. Haben Rishon Yoldam in a Yavam. Okay. Is Roy Leos Kohen Gadol. He writes here the following: Mimon of Shachim Kasher. Imhu beno shel harishon kosher. The imu beno shel ha'achron harela rishon lo hoyu bonim v'hoisa ishtos kuka liyivu ben zeh nolad me'ayavam v'kosher. V'roy Leos Kohen Gadol. So the Gemara has to cash on Shmuel v'abi'inon zaro miyuchas achrov v'leka. That we don't know who his father is. So the Gemara answers zaro miyuchas achrov dirabanan who cross machta b'yalma. So the entire psul that Shmuel was ruling about was a psul d'rabbanan, and the interpretation of the pasuk zaro achrov is only in a smach. I mean, we have to know what the pshuto shel mikra is. That's a different question.
The Zara Yuchas is only Rabbanon.
Only the rabbanon. Oh, now v'chi goz rabbanon b'nisuin. No, just 1 second. Is nus, but b'nisuin lo goz rabbanon. Let's just see if we can figure this out without reading the translation. When did they passel? She was in an illegal relationship. She had no right to marry this guy. Let's see how he says it. That's called znus. That's a drabbanan.
We don't know which kind was Bala.
Right, which Kohen was Boel. And she was a pnuya, so this was nutz. There was no nisuin framework here. But in the case of a yibum situation, that's called nisuin. Again, he shouldn't have done it within 3 months, but he was miyadma lamaisa within 3 months. And now the Rabbanon have to decide whether they're going to impose a psul as far as kahuna is concerned in the product of a yibum relationship. Is therefore lo gazer Rabbanon. So again, we don't know who his father is. But the Yavam jumped the gun here, and he was miyavim too prematurely. But it was nisuin. It was a framework of marriage. This was not a Mises nus. On the contrary, it was a Mises yibum. Again, the Rabbanan are not happy with the early bird yibum here, but nevertheless, we're not going to say that the son is possible because of the psul of Lazaro Achrov, because that psul is only the Rabbanan, and the Rabbanan will not impose that psul in a case of Nisun. So the Gemara asks, "Ubiznus mi gazer Rabbanan." So now you've told me that Shmuel, in the case of the 10 Kohanim, it was Gzeira D'Rabbanan because of Znus. Now the Gemara is questioning, even in the case of Znus, whether there was such a Gzeira D'Rabbanan. But now we learned in the Mishnah, or this is our Mishnah, Mishal Shasa Achar Bailo Shlosh Kadosh V'Niseis V'Yolva. And then the Mishnah goes on to say that Hayu Shneim Kohanim, who onein alehem, v'heim onenim olav, who einu mitami lahem, v'heim einu mitamim lo. Is my achar baila? What does it mean that she got married after her first husband? Ilay achar misas baila. If it's a case where she was widowed, then Ema Seifa, how do we understand the Seifa? In the case of Shneim Kohanim, who onin aleim, ve'hem onin olav. Bishlema, who onin aleim, Ishkachas la b'nesu in deshenim. Liquid atzamos to come. All right, this is getting. I'm going to have to wait till tomorrow. I have a lecture tonight on my head. It's part of a series I'm giving in Modi'in. All right, so let's make a note. We're up to ubiznus migazer abona, correct? So it's here. Now I'm gonna. In my Gemara, it's right above Hagolos V'Tziyunim. You have Hagolos V'Tziyunim in your Gemara? I'm always looking for a Simon.